Southwest Florida, welcome back to Lee Pitts Live here on Fox 4. We're under the sun, which I prefer to be. Nothing like the light of the sun to light a television show. I'm here doing my level best to cover the community and all the great events that take place in the community. Today you'll find Lee Pitts Live here at Mount Olive AME Church, a pillar in the community, the oldest black church in Southwest Florida. We're here in the heart of Dunbar community. If you're looking at us around the world on social media or streaming live on Fox 4, Fort Myers is located in the southwest quadrant of the state of Florida. This is the largest black community in Fort Myers, called Dunbar. Behind us is civic engagement Dunbar community event that's taking place, and we're here to document it all. Speaking of civic engagement, we have no person that I can think of who has been more civically engaged in this area over the past 25 years than one Dr. Charles Dailey. He happens to have pledged the wrong fraternity, and we will not hold that against him. We will let him wear his red hat and his cream color leisure suit and cream and gold garnet and cream socks on the show. But he's a good friend of mine, so thrilled to welcome him to the show. Charles, welcome to Lee Pitts Live, man.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you.
Charles,
thank you for that outstanding acknowledgement.
Hey, Charles, You let me get away with that. And that says something about how good all of us get along and joking and having fun.
Well, Lee, you and I have been friends for close to 30 years, so, you know, the older you get, the wiser you get. You know, so.
Charles, I don't think you let me got away with that 15 years ago, though.
No, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably mellow down some.
You still holding the office in Cap Alpha Psi, or you kind of letting it training?
I've kind of let that go to the younger guys. Brother Hamid Hunter now is the Polemarch, and I serve on the board of directors, but that's about the extent of it.
But you still having the OGs around to train that new generation is always good for the quality of your fraternity and what it does.
I think not only for fraternity, but for any organization that you are working with, you always have to reach down and train those young ones so that, because you're not going to be there forever. Mm-hmm. And if you want your organization to survive and to be plentiful, you need to begin to work with them at an early age.
Now, I'm going to draw on my memory to say that, if I'm not mistaken, you're a member of Friendship.
That is correct.
And you are right here supporting this event being put on by Mount Olive AME. What does that say about unity amongst the faith-based organizations?
Well, I think it's important that we're all in this together. We've got injustices that are impacting members in all congregations, and Pastor Givens is a good friend of mine. You just can't tell him no. And we're also affiliated with the Divine Nine,
right,
which is working in conjunction with this event. Yeah.
Pastor Givens called me with that baritone voice. Lee, give me a call. So you can't say no. Divine Nine, near and dear to your heart. Let's just assume that people who are watching this interview are not familiar with what the Divine Nine is, what Greek life is. Go ahead and Sesame Street that for them.
Well, your Divine Nine consists of all of the historically black fraternities and sororities that send representation from each one of their individual fraternities to discuss needs in the community, where we're working together as one, because all of our mandates for every single fraternity and sorority demand that we work with one another in terms of coming together. United we stand, and together we will not fail.
Now I'm sitting here looking at you, and you got all of this bling, flashing into the camera. And I want to make some comments about it, but because it looks so good, I want to keep this, maximize my time. But shout out to the bling bling.
You know what I would say is that the way you get it is to go to school,
okay,
get an education, and buy it.
In real stuff.
Charles,
let's go to, we mentioned him earlier, the pastor of this church. I want you to call his name again and give him a shout out for, being a spearhead for this event.
I think Pastor since Pastor Gibbons coming here over 10 years ago, has been a pillar in this community. He has actively worked at trying to establish communication between the church and the community, which he has done a great job. Between the the churches in the surrounding area developing partnerships. That's why you see other pastors here coming together to work together. We're just very fortunate to have him in our midst.
That's great. The COVID-19 is a big part of why we are here. People can get tested for COVID-19 fellowship and get other information that's floating around here. We are social distancing, of course. What do you have to say to, particularly to black people, about respect for this pandemic?
I think it's important that we don't need to think about decision making that is personal. We need to depend on the data, and the data won't go wrong. Mm-hmm. It shows a rise right now, and we need to understand that this is not over. Lives are being lost. School is out. We have an issue about talking about how many children we have served through the internet, but that's not the question. The question is how many children have we not served, and what's the breakdown? That's where the problem is, and so we need to continue working in these areas. But this is a dangerous disease. Mm-hmm. It kills.
The social unrest that's been taking place around the country. I'm sure you've been sitting at home watching it from a bird's eye view. Also, you've seen some Black Lives Matter protests here lately. If I'm not mistaken, you are a registered Republican.
Yes.
Okay. So what does that mean when you see this social unrest taking place? How do you see that in the big picture, Black Lives Matter and all these types of things that are happening right here in 2020?
I think it's a clear indication that there are other Republicans that are saying no more. We're just not going to stand by and just listen to what is coming out of the White House. Mm. I can't do that. You know, I believe if we had reacted earlier, we would not have stopped it, but we would have been further ahead. When I hear on the television the president stating we need to slow down the testing, that's a problem. Mm. I don't agree with that, and I don't see anybody who would agree with it. It's nonsense. The more testing is done, the more lives that will be saved. And so I just think we just need to continue to move forward and think about the data, not the personal, but the data should drive our actions.
The images of the Confederate soldiers, the war, the Civil War, Robert E. Lee, the Confederate flag, all of the generals, the Army, all the whole process that many people, not only just African American, but people in general, says that's the homage to slavery and the main and that whole movement. What do you say to the removal of these images?
I think they need to be in a museum, and not
Pastor Gibbons. Hang around for a second.
And not,
1 second. Okay.
And not publicly shown, because it is a resemblance. It is a strong message of what you stated to the past. We need to move away from the past and begin to concentrate on the future. Mm-hmm. To each piece has its own time of recognition. Mm-hmm. We put them in a museum. You go to Washington, you see them in a museum. You go to different places and you see them in museums. But they should not be in places that could cause issues of concern and a recognition that these things still exist, because they don't.
Mm-hmm. The upcoming election, I got to hit you on that before I let you go. We'll talk some more in the future. I got a couple other interviews because they're scattering. But what should people be taking into consideration when they go into the voting booth this time and when they do their absentee ballots and early voting, all that type of thing? You as a learned politician, outspoken leader in our community for many years, what type of things would you advise my viewers right now to do?
Well, where were we 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and where are we now? A change needs to take place, and that is on the national scene. In terms of senators, congressmen, here you have Washington, D.C. Congress just determined that they would have now state rights. And I've just heard that they're not going to move it forward to the Senate till after the election. But what we need to do, we need to concentrate on our local politics.
Okay.
We have individuals with the school board that aren't doing their jobs, and it's time, and they're up for election.
You're real passionate about that school board,
I'm
aren't you?
very passionate.
Go
about
ahead.
That school board. I spent over 30 years. I am one of the original ones. Mrs. Melvin Morgan and I, who helped make the decision for this district to be a unified district. But that's not where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
So a change needs to take place. We need to concentrate on.
We
our
have three
local
people
politics.
who are up for re-election on the school board. People can look them up. Are you happy with either of the three, or all of them, in your view, need to go?
I think, in my opinion, 2 of the 3 need to go.
Okay, you want to call some names?
Oh yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. Melissa Giovanni has always been actively involved. She's here today. She's at activities in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You never see Chris Patrica except when she was running.
Okay.
And Kathleen Morgan is beyond hope.
So you call some names.
So both of them are I think. I'm very comfortable with Dr. Bohatch,
Mm-hmm.
who is running against Kathleen Morgan, and I'm comfortable with Jackie Perez, who's running against Chris Patrica. Popeye could run against Ms. Patrica, and I would vote on him. So I'm sorry, I should have said that. Too late. I'm on camera.
Hey, Charles, the people that you said needed to go are Republicans.
Yes.
And you are a Republican. The person that you said is doing a great job is a Democrat, if I'm not mistaken, Melissa.
Listen. Let me say this to you. Republican, Democrat,
Okay.
Independent. If you are effectively helping people, that's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
That's what garnishes my support. Okay? The mere fact that if they're Republicans and they're not helping people. Kathleen Morgan has been on the board for 12, 13 years. It's time for her to go. Chris Patrica she thinks that she is the most knowledgeable person on the earth, and is not considerate of those in our community. She needs to go. And we have some others that have been elected. They need to remember where they've come from, so that when the time comes, I won't be saying that they need to go.
You heard it here, people.
I love it.
Charles Dailey, he loves this stuff. He never minces any words. We got him on record.
Got me on record.
Well, Charles, it's always a pleasure to get you to stop by. I want to get a couple of more interviews. And,
Okay, man. Have a good one,
and
man.
keep up the good work.
You stay safe.
We can't dap right now,
Nope.
but I can throw up these signals, and I'll let you throw up the yo sign.
The mere fact that you have to throw that up means that you are concerned about the overpowering of Kappa Alpha Psi.
So I'm insecure.
Yeah, you're very secure.
Folk, y'all heard it right there.
I'll let you get away once. but
Be
not
sure to
twice.
peek the little blue in here, okay,
You got
and the
Melissa-
white on
you got-
top.
you got-
We'll be right back.
You got school board members